Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Chip Off the Old Clark. With me today is the president of Prospect Fighting Championship and actually a fellow podcaster from the Studio 88 podcast. I'd like to introduce everybody to Jamie Champion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we were talking a little bit before. I actually found your podcast on a whim and on a goof. Mm-hmm. I looked into getting Sam Stout on and happened to type in Sam Stout interview and popped up onto your podcast. And, you know, kind of like mine, yours is more fight oriented than career oriented, but you've had on some infectious disease counselors, doctors, not counselors, behavioral people and all that. You know, you want to kind of walk us through how the podcast kind of developed?
Okay, so originally, so I got into professional fighting as a promoter back in 2013. Mm-hmm. So I did 3 shows in 2013 into 2014, and then went on a hiatus with the professional stuff.
Okay.
I went on a tear doing amateur promotion. So we did about 13 or 14 events here in town, like music hall, cowboys. Like I was doing them inside bars.
Yep.
And the government kind of stepped in and said, "Hey, like they're illegal." Which they were.
The smokers?
They weren't smokers.
Oh, they weren't smokers.
No, they were full-on MMA. It was full MMA, but with shin guards.
Okay.
We used cloth shin guards and 7-ounce gloves as opposed to 4-ounce gloves.
All right.
And we trained our referees and to do like early stoppages. Mm-hmm. So it was more for athlete development. It was to get guys ready for professional.
Okay.
When the government stepped in and said, "Hey, you know, what you're doing is illegal," they made us apply for a PSO, which is a provincial sport organization. Okay. So basically, it's a government-funded program for athlete development, but for MMA. They have it for kickboxing, they have it for boxing, jiu-jitsu, etc. They have PSOs for all these recognized sports.
Okay.
So the government said, "Okay, do what you're going to do." Mm-hmm. We're doing it anyways.
Yep.
And do this application. You have to write a book. Basically, it was a 500-page book on how one becomes a mixed martial arts fighter, but they want it from like the time you can walk.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but what it is, it's to get guys. So let's say we take a kid, and get him tumbling and rolling, hand-eye coordination, those sports, kicking, soccer, like different things to kind of develop those skills, and then you would develop as you get older, and you would break into, say, kickboxing for striking arts, jiu-jitsu, wrestling for grappling.
Yep. And
then eventually you just put them together. We would drop you in a cage under strict rule, meaning like they would do all their blood work and stuff, but the referees, again, would early stoppage. There's no, your arm was caught and they're going to let you not tap. You're stopping the fight before you can even, it's to protect the fighter.
Yeah.
The government loved it. The government was like, the presentation was amazing. We started a non-for-profit called Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Ontario.
Okay.
And then there was 6 of us on the board from like other people. Like my matchmaker was on there. Mm-hmm. My assistant was on there who was very good with the clerical stuff. Another guy who's a manager. We had all walks of life. Mm-hmm. And we crushed it, bro. We did like 32 events in 1 year all across Ontario from Windsor to Ottawa.
Okay.
And we were pretty much every weekend. I was like renting a cage every weekend. So we were always traveling to shows. Guys would book 10, 15 fight card. And then this is where we got to learn a lot of these amateurs.
Yeah.
Then everything came to a halt because we didn't have Olympic recognition. So because there's no Olympics in for MMA, the box, we couldn't tick that box. Ugh. So they gave us a checklist of all these things. We met fucking everything up until that.
That one box.
Because it didn't exist. So I was like, you made us go through all this, which was like, I'm talking like we were fighting with each other. Like imagine given a project for the government. We're given the pen to write the rule set for how amateur and mixed martial arts should work in the province.
Okay.
So we were given that pen, and in the end, it came to we couldn't do it.
They took the pen away.
They took the pen away and said it doesn't work. Here's the rest of the PSOs for kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA is still on the shelf.
Shit.
So rather than like crying about it, I was like, maybe I'll just jump back into pro. Okay. Just do pro shows. And then I got some investors, guys who were serious, guys that work close friends, and we started the pro stuff. And we just jumped right back into doing professional. Mm-hmm. And then, so that which leads me back to the podcast.
Yep.
I didn't have content. I had content with amateur. Okay. And because I hadn't done pro since 2013, so long ago, it's too old. I need like fresh material. Yeah. So I thought, fuck, how? And here, okay, I'll back up again. I was so, when I watch a fight, so let's say, for example, Joey's fighting. I'll develop a relationship with you as one of my fighters, meaning I'll talk to you all the time. We're doing tickets, we're talking money, we're talking medicals, we're doing all this stuff. We get this relationship. I either like you or I don't like you. Yeah. You're either going to be hard to deal with or professional, or we're going to see your personality as time goes.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of these guys are great guys. Yeah. You can't help it but to feel something for them. Right? So, like, this guy's going to put his ass on the line for me and our entertainment. Yeah. So you get this relationship built with them. So what happens is when the fight happens, as I'm sitting cage side, I'm looking through the cage, I'm looking at these two guys fighting. I know the one guy, I either say, let's say I really like him. Yeah. This has happened before, numerous times. The guy gets knocked out. I'm a fucking baby. I cry. Really? I do, yeah. I get upset because I'm like, fuck, like I was like, I had an emotional connection with him. So I thought, how could I get people to feel the same way I feel about them when they fight? Yeah. So if I watch a fight and you see two guys just banging it out, one wins, one loses, it doesn't matter to you. You go, fuck, it was a great fight. Cool. I like that guy. It was cool. Yeah. But if you knew him more on a personal level, if you were more closer to him, you're more invested into that fight. So when the fight happens, you're going to go, fuck, I really like this guy. He's got a family, man. He's got kids. He works hard. He's like me. You have that relationship. Yeah. So I thought, fuck, I'll do a podcast. Okay. And then maybe I can bring that out in them. And it was hard. I remember my first episode I ever did was with Matty Havorka, local fighter in from here, trains out of Adrenaline. Smoked a joint before we did it. Biggest mistake. I'll never do that again. Really? Yeah, I can't smoke weed and do podcasts. I trip out too much. We started talking and like 17 minutes went by. So hold on, that's not even the time. Yeah. So we were talking. We just kept going. And then I said, okay, man, let's wrap this up. Cool. And I said, give you shout outs to your sponsors, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And he's like, cool. We ended it. Cool. Took the things off. I turned to the producer. I go, hey, how was that? How long was that? And he goes, 16 minutes. I'm like, that felt like fucking 40 minutes. That felt like eternity. Are you kidding? Like, I was just, and I wasn't prepared. Yeah. I didn't do any research on him because I knew him. Yeah. I thought, oh, I know him. It should be easy go. It should be just shoot the shit about whatever we want to talk about. Yeah. That wasn't the case. I just was like, I felt like I was tripping on my words. Plus I was high. It didn't really. So I got a whiteboard. I ended up sticking it. So what I learned from is I put a whiteboard on behind them. Yeah. So every guest that I had, I would write down key points on the whiteboard. Okay. So I was like, I know Joey's coming in and say, chip off the old block. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how he got started. Let's talk about his work. Let's talk about this. Like I would list a whole bunch of questions. Okay. And I didn't do them in order. We would just start talking. And then if I felt like I was going quiet, I would look at the board. Yeah. Go, oh, yeah, I forgot to ask him this. Go, what about this? And then the whiteboard's gone now, which is good. And then I just I just roll into it. And I know in my head the few set questions that I do want to ask. Yeah. That they can elaborate on. But really, I just try to make it about them. Yeah. I want to know about you. That's why it's great to be the guest. Because it's like, I'm not stressing. Like I want to ask you, right now, I want to ask you 100 questions.
Because of
but I'm like, no, let him do his thing. Like,
it goes both ways. Like,
for sure.
It's, like when you were talking about the fighters, like I still remember was playing junior hockey and we went to the Orr House just down the road after one of the games, and that's when the Ultimate Fighter was on, the first one. Watching Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner just go toe to toe. It didn't matter.
I cried during that fight too.
I was just at shock and awe. Like,
Did you follow the show before that fight? No. See, I was watching the show, so I was invested, which was a brilliant thing that the UFC did.
Oh, for sure.
Because it made us invested into them. Because we got to see what they were like on camera, which, how much of it is scripted, I don't know. I don't really think it's probably scripted, but I think, again, you put cameras on a fighter, they change.
We were talking about that before,
yeah, they go into fighter mode. They go in like, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, and I'm going to do this and that and this to them.
I'm a tough guy, not I'm a softie. And
for the most part, some of them are really like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But some of them are not, only when the camera goes on. But the reality show of it was very genius because it made you feel for those fighters. So when the Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner fight was happening, you already knew what those guys were like because you just watched them in the house talking about shit, missing their girlfriends, food they like to eat, pranks they were doing on each other, who they wanted to fight and who they didn't want to fight. Like, you already kind of had a good knowing of who they were.
Their personality,
So when they went into the cage and then all of a sudden they're throwing leather, and you're like, whoa, and either guy could get knocked out at any moment.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, holy fuck, this is, whoa, you're on the edge of your seat. They should give both these guys a contract. And when he did, it was tears. I'm like, because it was like, they deserved it.
Yeah, I remember, sitting in the bar and all of us, talking about the game, talking about girls, talking about drinking, everything else. And all of a sudden that fight came on and everybody just shut up. Like, there was no more talking about girls. There was no more checking out the bartender. It's like, what the fuck are we watching? Because none of us, playing hockey, most guys that go through hockey, they don't even look at mixed martial arts or any of the martial arts. Like, I never did karate or kickboxing or boxing or anything like that. Watch the movies, and then from that point on, I was hooked. My parents to this day still think it's, glorified street fighting. Try and explain to them. You might as well explain to the wall.
Honestly, bro, it's a stigma that I fight all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a professional fight promoter.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So when I talk to people that say, if I talk to you about it, and I was like, hey, Joe, you want to sponsor an event?
Yeah.
What do you do? Professional MMA. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Or you're like, oh, I fucking love this sport. This is a great idea. Yeah, I'm in. I'm involved. Let's do it. Yeah, let's.
It's one side of the coin or the other. Yeah, there's no in between.
No, and I've been turned down so many times talking to sponsors because I had one guy who was at a tax building. I went in for talked to him about sponsorship.
Yeah.
Walked into his office. I go, hey, just 5 minutes of your time just to talk about what I'm doing and how we can have a relationship.
Yeah.
And he goes, you have 1 minute. So I was like, I sat right in front of him right away, and I threw out a pamphlet on his table of like my sponsorship packages, and started explaining to him what I did. And right away, he's like, you know what? I'm going to cut you off right now. And I don't think this is rude. He goes, but I hate mixed martial arts. I hate MMA. I'm a karate guy. I'm a traditional karate guy. So, which was cool. I let him talk, and he's like, I'm a traditional karate guy. My family's in karate, and then he goes, I find MMA. There's a lot of goons and this, and I agreed with him. I go, you're not wrong.
No,
it's there. 100% it's there. I see it on a day-to-day basis. But me as a pure, I'm a martial artist. Since I was a little kid, I've always loved the sport of fighting, and like friends from when I was a kid always said to me, like, I knew you were gonna do this.
Really?
That was like your thing. I'd kick bottles off of people's heads and shit all the time. Like, that was like my fun thing to do. Like, martial arts was my thing. I'd skip school to go to Warriors downtown. I grew up in Toronto.
Okay.
And we'd go downtown and go to a martial arts store just to feel the Bob punching bag. You ever see the Bob punching bag? It looks like a man. You feel soft, the skin. They had one of those. It was like the first time it ever came out. Okay. And I was like, this thing is fucking bananas. It was like $800 at the time. I wasn't affording it.
Yeah.
And what was I saying? Sorry. So yeah, talking to this guy. So I said, you're not wrong. It is there. I go, but you as a purist martial artist, like you would say, like karate, those are there still too. Like those guys are still fighting. Those guys, those George St. Pierre's, those traditional martial arts guys are there. Like those, it's not. If we only focus on the negative, you're missing out on the people that are trying to do the positive within the sport.
Well, like Wonderboy Thompson.
100%. Yeah. There's guys that are just they're purist martial artists, right? And if that was your thing, like to walk away because you think there's goons, well, you need the goons. You need them. They're there because you want the purist martial art to beat the shit out of them. Yeah. You need someone to root for, or you need someone to cheer against. Yeah. So it was kind of it's both. Mm-hmm. And then he was, you've been here longer than a minute, so that's a good sign. So we kept talking. So the conversation went from, I don't want you in the room, you only have a minute, to like, we were there for like 15 minutes. Oh, wow. Even though nothing came of it. Yeah. So in the end, he's like, I'll take a look at it. We'll take an honest look at it because I like you. There's something about you I think is cool. I'll take a look. I never heard back from him, and I didn't follow up. Yeah. I didn't follow up because I didn't think I don't want someone to sponsor an event. I want someone to sponsor the event because they love the sport. Yeah. They want their name all over shit. And we can have that mutual relationship where we show up at the fights and I come over to you and say, hey, say you're a sponsor. One of my best friends sponsored the event for years before we became best friends. Okay. So that's kind of like, I want you to be in it too. Yeah. Not just let me take your money and you can put your name on a ring. But it's not like that. I want you to like be invested into the whole show, the event, the evening. Mm-hmm. It's a weekend thing, But.
Yeah, and that's like when it comes to mixed martial arts and the UFC and everything else is when I started watching it, I almost wanted to quit playing hockey and go right to adrenaline. And it's because playing hockey, I was the fighter. And it's, okay, well, I'd love to sit there and go into a gym with somebody and go, face up and let's go. Well, as soon as I see these guys throwing kicks and takedowns going, well, I'm fucked. I have, and then even that, like going out to the bars on a Friday night, it changed my perspective on being the tough guy. Mm-hmm. It was, okay, I can throw hands. A guy kicks me in the leg, I'm going to turn into a little bitch. Mm-hmm. Like one kick in the leg because I see the whip, I'm done. I've never been kicked in the leg before, nor do I want to. Yeah. And it humbles you even just watching the sport, let alone getting into the gym or getting into the ring or the cage to fight somebody. But when it comes to the goons and it comes to the purists, watching a UFC fight, watching, your cards, it's not the knockouts that interest me. Mm-hmm. My fiance and I sit down and watch the UFC every once in a while, and she's like, oh, well, they're on the ground again. That's where I live. I will watch that till the day I die. The intricacies of transitions and going from one submission move to another and using this one to almost fake them out thinking they're, going to lose the arm to open up a triangle. It's just, it's amazing to me. It's almost like
chess.
Yeah, chess.
Chess with punches.
Yeah. But yeah, like and then with your show, like I'll admit, I've watched some of the videos online, but every single time you guys had an event in London, I had something else going on.
Oh, so you
I have not been live to one yet.
Honestly, bro, the live event is like, videos doesn't do it justice. No. I try to make the videos look the best I can do. Mm-hmm. But the live event, I greet everybody that comes in that door.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, let's say, for example, let's use Music Hall, for example.
Okay.
I've done a couple of events there. I'll be at the front door pretty much all night.
Oh, wow.
Like, as people are coming in, guests, I'm showing you to your seats, showing you to your area.
Wow.
Getting everybody situated while at the same time I'm running backstage, making sure they're getting ready on deck, talking to production group, make sure the lighting and sound's going good, talking to commission, making sure the referees and judges are all set.
Yep.
And then just making sure that the patrons, the people who come to watch the fights, are comfortable.
Yeah.
I want your experience at the event to be so memorable that you'll never miss a card again.
Yeah.
Right? You go, I'm fucking going back to that again, especially when you're seeing local guys, local fighters, guys that you can bump into at a metro. Yeah. And you're like, I know that guy, watched that guy, punch a dude out at Cowboys, but he didn't get arrested for it because it was legit. It was in a cage and it was like, so, man, the live event is where it's at.
Yeah.
The roar of the crowd. I miss this. And this I'm trying not to cry because of it, because the last event was in Toronto. Yep. And it was literally a week before the shutdown.
Yeah, I think I was listening to one of the podcasts that you've done talking about it, that it was, you got through the show and then all of a sudden everything just stopped.
My wife and my daughter and I, we all stayed in Toronto for the week. She was on March break. My wife took the week off work. I took holidays off because I have a full-time job.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we took some time off of work for the week. We thought we'd just stay in a hotel for the week. Let's just swim and just... Yeah. A lot of goes into a show. So it's mentally, it's physically exhausting. You don't get a lot of sleep. You're go, 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 go. So a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
So, and then that week after, like, things started shutting down, and then literally everything shut down. I remember driving home, and my wife and I were scared.
Really?
Yeah, we're like, fuck, like, this shit's real. Like, this is for real. We were my matchmaker's from Montreal.
Okay.
He had a cold when he came. I go, you got the Corona shit, bro? Like we were teasing him. We were joking with him. You're not bringing that Corona, are you? And he's like, no. And I was like, we kind of all knew it was there, but it was completely dismissive of it. It was what it is. We had a fight to do.
Yeah, thinking it was the flu or the cold.
Yeah, and
not
then,
turning into what it is now.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then everything shut down, and I haven't been. That was the last professional event here in the province, and there's been nothing since.
Yeah.
And it's sad because not seeing the fighters compete. Guys are sitting on the shelf. Gyms are closing. Yep. They're struggling through all this shit. And, I'm not doing what I love to do, which is fights. I like to put on big events. I had a huge goal. You know, I'm ready for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Like in my head, I'm like, no, this is a marathon. We're doing this for like, we're gonna make this thing huge.
Yeah.
And the carpet just goes from under your feet, and then what do?
Yeah, because you don't have UFC money to go to Dubai and do Fight Island and, Bellator. I think they're back fighting now with a whole bunch of restrictions and no crowds, and they're hemorrhaging money. They have to be, other than sponsorships, because I'm assuming the gate's huge for them.
The gate is everything, bro. Yeah. Like if I don't put butts in seats, I don't make any money. Yeah. Like to do a no crowd event, which we've talked about, like my partners and I, let's do no crowd. We work a TV deal. We can get things on a network television. We could do it. You need a crowd. Yeah. There's nothing like... I took my daughter to the last event. Okay. It was the only event she's ever been to. I've done 17 events. There's the only one she ever... I'm so glad I took her. Yeah. I don't know 100% for sure if fights will be gone. Mm-hmm. Because of all the rules set now with COVID. And, we don't know when we're going to have a crowded event again. Yeah. We can speculate. We're supposed to do one in September at Bud Gardens. That's a charity event. Yep. And we're like on the fence. We don't know if it's going to happen. Well, and even if it does happen, it doesn't mean it's not going to be at full capacity. It could be half capacity. It could be like no crowd. We don't know. Mm-hmm. It's the unknown which is killing me. But I had my daughter. She's only 6. Okay. I had her there. She was 5 at the time, actually. And I was walking her through the crowd. Like going through like basically my path that I move all night. So basically I would be like front door, backstage, dressing room 1, dressing room B, at the bar, at the manager's office, at the front door. Like I don't stop. Yeah. So my wife had her, she had earmuffs on or whatever. And I go, hey, you want to just go for a walk? I'll show you the backstage. I'll show you all the fight. I'll show you some fighters. Like I wanted to introduce her to that lifestyle. Yeah. And we're walking through and like, I felt like I knew everybody because she's like, Dad, everybody knows you. How come everybody? Because this is my show. Like, this is what I do. And she had no clue. Oh, wow. And she's like, how come everybody is saying hi? Like, how do you can go everywhere? But this is my show. We can do whatever we want. Yeah. Really? And we just being there with her and being with the crowd and seeing so many people. It's good times, bro.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've watched some of the events, some of the pay-per-views where there's no crowd. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. I'm assuming more, like, I'm not a purist, as I said. I've never actually fought or trained or anything like that. But to hear the cornerman talking to the fighters that you would never hear, 5 years ago because the crowd's just going nuts. Or even some of the fights that I've seen where they're actually yapping at each other. Yeah. You'd never hear that 5 years ago.
The roar of the crowd.
Over the roar of the crowd. But I remember, GSP versus BJ Penn. I was playing Senior A. I told all my friends at the time, I said, I've got the fights. I got one of the illegal satellite dishes. We're watching this fight. And I rush home and I crank the surround sound and just the electricity from the building through the TV you could even feel. So I see it from both sides for a purist and for just a fan. The purist would love seeing the no crowd just to appreciate.
Like a Japan fight. Yeah. It'd be like in Japan, it was quiet. See, I appreciate both. Mm-hmm. As a promoter, I like the crowd because I like the energy that it gives off. A lot of it, you gotta look at it this way. So say on a local card, on a regional level, let's say you're fighting. Nope. And let's say you're fighting another guy who lives on the other end of town. Okay. You guys went to school together. Maybe you guys know each other from high school days. Maybe you know each other from hockey. Yeah. The circles are small, but small world. Yeah. Now, when the fight happens, how it works is a majority of the ticket sales are from you. Yeah. The other majority of the tickets are from your opponent. Yeah. So all your friends, all your wife's friends, everybody that knows you, everybody that has a relationship with you is going to go, Joey's fighting?
Oh, I'm going.
I'm fucking going. Either one, because they love you.
Or they hate me.
Or I want to see him get punched out because he's opinionated as fuck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's your crowd. So when you go to a show, now all of a sudden, Joe, who sold you 150 tickets to all his friends and his family members, when Joe's fighting, there's people in the crowd that are either upset because maybe you lost, or they're happy because you're winning. Maybe your friends are rowdy. Maybe they're soft. Maybe they're quiet. There's Chad LaPriest. He'd sell 300 tickets to his church congregation.
Really?
So you get the whole church. I had a show it was at music hall, and one of the fighters was a Mennonite.
No.
And they're from where were they? Just north of Goderich.
Kincardine?
No, not that far.
Not that
It's
far.
kind of somewhere in Blythe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so there was a little town called Blythe, is where he was from, and all his friends were Mennonites. Fucking all of them. Like, and he sold like probably the most tickets on that night, probably like 200 something tickets.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so we're at music hall, so I'm going through the crowds, doing my crowd walks, kind of.
Yeah.
Because your experience is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look like you're having a bad time, I'll notice it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, bro, you good? Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's okay. Or, yeah, it's a great time. Or, nah, fuck, whatever. Let's get this guy some drinks.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, get this guy some drinks. Don't worry, bro. We'll make sure that your evening is good.
Yeah.
I want you to have a good time. So when you come and watch one of my fights, I want you to go home going, what a fucking show.
Yeah, even
that
if
guy
your
took
buddy,
care of me. Yeah,
even if your buddy gets knocked out,
yeah,
you still have a good time, man.
100%.